This is the Ask Faleskini podcast, where the modern economy is discussed from a skeptic's perspective. Mr. Faleskini helps you distinguish what is sustainable in our economy and what isn't. Not everything that glitters is gold, and not all mud is dirty. The podcaster Mr. Faleskini provides no-nonsense advice. He had it all, lost it all, went bankrupt multiple times, and is now attempting to come back from zero with sustainable growth. There are numerous coaches and preachers on the internet that preach about positive thinking and how life is all roses if you just care to see it that way. Well, Mr. Faleskini is definitely not one of them. We recommend you ask Faleskini to keep it real. He discusses the darker side of the current economic reality, the side that's more important for your personal and business finance. His first intention is to help you keep what you already have. Not to be a complete party pooper, Mr. Faleskini will also hint at the earning opportunities in the economy today. In order to please the almighty algorithm, please like, share, and subscribe. And now it's time to start taking notes. The mic goes to the podcaster, the one and only Mr. Faleskini.
Thank you, Taylor. 2022 started on a more or less neutral note, and might be described even as an ignorance of the outer realities as far as mass media was concerned. On the other hand, there was an open competition of doomsday prophecies in the alternative media. And then the Ukrainian crisis started, and doomsday prophecies suddenly became mainstream. My podcast is growing, and my consulting business is booming. Most of my clients experienced only minor difficulties, and we were able to solve them in a couple of sessions. I'm grateful for everything in 2022. That is why I've decided that this end of the year bonus episode will be dedicated to the question of what was the year 2022 like for business people. Let's start with 2022 statistics. I've discussed the shortcomings of official statistics and third-party analytics in my fourth episode that was released in June this year. The title was, Can You Rely on Official Statistics and Third-Party Analytics? I strongly recommend that you listen to that episode. In this bonus episode, I will interpret official statistics and third-party data in a way that will help me establish the fact that all in all, 2022 was a really good year for business people. If you would like me to prepare an adequate macroeconomic data model for your specific business, you can schedule a call with me through the link in the description. And now, let's start with the most publicized official data in 2022. Interest rates in the US started with 0.25% and are currently at 4%. UK interest rate started at 0.25% and are currently at 3%. EU started a year with a negative 0.5% interest rate, and the current EU rate is 2.8%. Switzerland started with a negative 0.75% and are currently at 0.5% positive. My opinion is that interest rates below 6% a year are manageable for business people. Let's continue with inflation. In the US, the year started with 7.5% inflation, and current official statistics says that inflation is at 7.7%. UK inflation started with 5.5% this year and is currently at 11.1%. EU inflation started at 5.1% and is currently at 10.1%. Switzerland official statistics says that inflation started with 1.6% and is currently at 3%. My opinion is that inflation below 25% a year is manageable for most business people. Looking at the car market, the year started with the dealer charging extra on top of the recommended retail price. I think now is safe bet that you can get most of the cars for the recommended retail price. If you own a car dealership and you didn't have a full stock of overpriced cars in the beginning of the year, you could survive 2022 almost without bruises. Only fully leveraged dealers with unsustainable business models were hurt so far. Property. If you were in buy to rent with fixed interest rates and you were renting to the middle class, 2022 should be okay for you. The only problem is if you were highly leveraged and if you were developing super luxury accommodation for people that intended to purchase them with the leverage. Let's continue with the unemployment figures or employment figures. Employment in the US started with the 96% in January and is now at 96.3%, almost no movement. However, big tech companies like Meta and Twitter have started laying off workers, a lot of them, thousands of them. In the UK, employment in January was at 96% and is now at 96.4%, even higher than in the beginning of the year. In EU, the employment rate started in January with 93% and it's now at 93.5%. So it's safe to say that employment didn't take any hit in 2022. Many alternative media and doomsday promoters promote gold as the ultimate refuge in a time of crisis. Let's see how gold performed in 2022. It started the year with the price on the January 1st with approximately $1,600 per troy ounce. And it's now, when I'm recording this podcast, at almost 1,800 troy per ounce. Approximately 12% increase in the whole year. It surpassed official inflation by 50%. So doomsday promoters have got it right until now. Year 2022 was also the year of economic sanctions. Most severe sanctions since World War II were put in place for Russia. It all seems like Russia has become the arch nemesis of the Western world in mid-2022. If we check the figures for energy, we should concentrate on oil. Oil only experienced small increase in price. It started a year with $67 per barrel, and it ended the year with $80 per barrel. Price increased below the official inflation. Credit ratings were almost untouched for the whole year. Most of the companies did not experience any degradation in credit ratings. States and countries have stepped up their tax game. They're all afraid that they will come into deficit spending or the deficit spending will increase further. So taxes have become even more complex. Some tax breaks were abolished, and it's safe to claim most companies and people will pay more taxes in the future. And last but not least important, the crypto market. The crypto market is the only market that is really down in 2022. This year, crypto market proved to be the only asset class that is still not entirely regulated and influenced by the system players. To put it shortly, it is still free to a large degree, but lack of systematic investment resulted in a free fall of the market in 2022. Let's get into the figures. Bitcoin started a year with the price of $64,000 per one Bitcoin, and it's now hovering at about 17,000 for one Bitcoin, just 36% of what was worth in the beginning of the year. Ethereum, as the second largest cryptocurrency, started the year with a $3,700 price for one Ethereum, and it's now $1,250 per one Ethereum, just 33% of what was worth at the beginning of the year. Lack of liquidity, lack of trading, and free fall of prices resulted in many failures of players that were considered big, even dominant in the crypto market. The crypto market has slowly continued to mature in 2022, meaning that despite some unicorns, without sustainable business model, survival is not guaranteed anymore. Let me continue with my personal business experiences in the year 2022. As far as services are concerned, podcast is doing much better than anticipated. Coaching and consulting business is as anticipated, almost fully booked. Investments, I've successfully assisted with the increase of capital in the Central European rate. A UK client profited over £15 million just because the investment was nominated in euros. And as you know, the price of pound dropped significantly. And this client was so lucky that he invested in euro before the price of pound collapsed. On the other hand, one of my crypto mining projects was put on hold. I don't think I made any major mistake in 2022 so far. So I would rate my experience as really positive for 2022. If you are following my podcasts, you already know that I always hint at the opportunities. And here are the two opportunities that my clients used the most in 2022. The first one is they used inflation as an argument to increase the price of their products. The second one was interest rate hike as an argument to lower the purchase price of the goods that needs financing. Let me conclude this episode by stating the following. Regardless of the situation in the economy, politics, and environment, you must always use your environment to your advantage. All in all, I believe most business people should be grateful for 2022. I know I'm very grateful for my business. For the 2023 forecast, I invite you to listen to the next episode. Should be out in December 17th. Regardless if you are a small business owner or a big-time investor, there will be many useful insights that will help you make money in 2023. And back to Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Faleskini, for this outstanding podcast. And thank you for listening to the Ask Faleskini podcast until the end. Mr. Faleskini would love to hear your feedback in the comments. And don't forget, if you want to know, ask Faleskini or listen to the Ask Faleskini podcast. In order to please the almighty algorithm, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.